boy. There it is. That's the first one that did it. Woo. What's the last question?
Hi, I'm David Voorhees, the host of Running Hot, the business insurance podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, Joel Goldberg. Many of you might know him from the Kansas City Royals. He's also an accomplished speaker, business owner, entrepreneur. So, Joel, welcome.
Thanks for having me, David.
So, you guys know the deal. We have 6 sauces. The 6th one is the optional one. The 5th one is going to get him to the point where he's answering some really fun questions. But the 6th one, if he makes it, will donate $1,000 to the charity of choice. I think if you saw that, it might indicate he's not planning on 6.
It's not that I'm not charitable or that I want you to be charitable, but, well, we'll see what happens.
All right, well, let's get started.
If I only make it to 4, do I have to give money back?
Oh, that's a good point. We should probably think about that. Let's think about that. You give charity my choice.
All right, fair enough.
So go ahead and take a wing.
All right.
And then while you're doing that, I'm going to grab this first one. So Bravado Spice Company. This is creamy herb and jalapeno hot sauce. At the bottom, you can see it says mild. That's got good flavor.
Mm-hmm. If we were done there, we'd be good.
Yeah, I think you'd be good there. All right, so first question, as I mentioned, again, work for the Kansas City Royals. You do a lot of public speaking, own your own business, so a variety of different things. Talk to us about the challenge of balancing all of those things and making them work and allowing yourself to operate, at your highest level.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And I think that probably for anyone that is involved in multiple endeavors, finding that balance never really ends. I don't know that there is a secret formula. I think you constantly reevaluate, in part just because things change. I mean, for me, for 6 months a year, I know that I could focus on my business and the speaking as often as I want to. For the other 6 months of the year in the season, I don't want to neglect it, but I know that I need to be able to focus on baseball first and foremost. That's a non-negotiable. So I think for me, it's a matter of just cutting back during the season, but making sure in some form or another that I'm touching the business every single day and setting the expectation for people out there as well that I'm going to disappear for a little bit, but I'm still around. And so I think once people understand that, it's just such a unique profession where you're working essentially a full-time job, a year's worth of work in 6 months. But I don't want to check out at the end of March and then first reappear again at the end of September. So just little touches every day.
Gotcha. No hibernation?
Maybe for a week or two.
Okay.
That's it.
So I think also it's pretty valuable when you think about all the competing priorities. You have to say no sometimes.
That's right.
And not everybody likes hearing it when you tell them no. So, what would be your advice when saying no? How can you still be respectful to not only who you're saying no, but to yourself because you're being respectful to your schedule?
Yeah, I think this is a great question, and I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with. It took me a while to understand that no is okay and that no actually feels good. And that's hard for a people pleaser like many of us, including myself, because you don't want to have to tell someone no. Is no now, as much as it hurts or doesn't feel great, is no now easier than what it's going to be 6 months down the road, a year down the road, 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the road once I've gone along the way? Let's put it in terms of wings. I could say no right now and it might feel like a 2, but if I have to say no in a year and I'm knee deep into it, it's going to feel like a 6 for everybody involved. So let's set the expectation from the start and just say, you know what? I would love to do this, but I just don't believe that I have the time to commit to what you're going to need. And I don't want to hang you out to dry later. And once you frame it that way, to me, that feels good. If it feels a little bit awkward, run it by somebody else. Throw it into a chat GPT even and say, hey, I want to be polite about this, but I want to be very firm and make sure that I set the expectation that the answer is no, or that I want to know what it's about. And just that way you can kind of review that tone a little bit, because you don't want to come across poor. You can say no and not come across as a bad person. I think that is hard to convince our own heads of that sometimes. And so setting that expectation, I think, is a good thing. And then the fallback is that if you can have a person, whether you have an assistant and I've got a great assistant that is happy to be my no person. But if you don't have an assistant, if it's someone close to you that's like, you know what, I got no problem saying no, and let them run in a little bit of interference. There's nothing wrong with that, too.
Thought I'd bring that up. All right, what do you think? Number 2?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's go. So, number 2, Bravado Spice Company, Serrano and Basil. This one steps up to a medium, but they're varying mediums. So
we're at the low medium.
Yeah, how is that? Was there any tingle on that one? Okay. So
a little more heat.
A little more heat, but it's got a really nice
good
vinegar base to it. I like it. So,
I'm okay with that one.
I've had the privilege of listening to you speak several times, and I think one of the marks of a great speaker...
Should have me speak after doing some wings.
That's actually a good idea. Yeah. But one of the marks of a good speaker is you can listen to it multiple times and still get engaged in parts of the story. But one of the parts that really resonated with me is how you talk about the beginning of building trust with people and how important that is to allow people to understand that you're there as a partner. So what's the best way to build trust when you're talking to someone and you're asking them very intimate questions, but in general in business, how do you build trust, and then how can you build that relationship?
So I think there's so many different layers and levels to this. And trust is my favorite topic. As a matter of fact, and you've heard many versions of my big speech. We're in the process, like today, as we're recording this, of finalizing a new speech that is specifically on trust. It's going to be called Winning Trust. And part of what's going to be discussed is the different layers and types of trust, because it's not a one size fits all, meaning this. You and I can do this interview a lot better than, say, we did it when I had you on my podcast. That's not a matter of who the host is or the guest is. You and I didn't know each other as well. And I was trying to get a feel for what you wanted to talk about in coming on and how it would benefit the podcast. You were trying to get a feel for, I haven't done a lot of these before. I'm a little bit nervous about it, if I remember correctly.
Absolutely.
But when it was over, I know that you felt a lot of confidence in saying, hey, you made that easy on me. That's one of the biggest pieces to trust, whether it's earning it quickly or whether it's earning it over time, is can you make someone's life easier? If you make things easier on them, they will come back for more. Being what I say I'm going to be, being where I say I'm going to be, when I'm going to be there. If I tell them that it's only 2 questions and suddenly I make it 4, if it's only 2 minutes and suddenly it's 10, that's not easy on them. I've set a false expectation. So that's one piece, is can you make something regularly, consistently easy on someone or easier on them? That's a way to build trust. The other one, and you and I have this is an example of you and I, is can you take it gradually? So ideally, if you could build trust over time, slowly, it's not just a flip a light switch, you're there. If that's the case, then you earn that over time. You build that equity up. You could also give it back really fast.
All right.
And then sometimes you don't have a choice. You got to do it like that. That to me is the hardest trust to earn, because it's not a long-term trust. It's a short-term trust for something that you might need in the moment. And to me, that's a matter of finding a connection. It's just finding something to bond over in the short term and then leveraging that into some kind of short-term result.
No, that's great. I like it. All right, ready to go to number 3?
Yeah, we can do 3.
I'm telling you, I think you'll be surprised at how you'll be able to do this. So this one is Crimson Hot Sauce.
This is the first one that has the word hot on it.
It does, but it's still medium. It's still medium. Okay,
it's got 3 peppers.
We're still good.
All right, here we go. So you made it easy. I mean, you asked in advance. Do you like drumsticks or the regular?
Yeah. Again, it's got a light, nice vinegar base, but you'll get a little heat. Little tingle there?
Little tingle.
Still doable?
Yeah, it's still doable.
Okay. Maybe we do get to 5. We'll
Going
see.
back for more.
All right.
Now I'm getting competitive.
There we go. That's right. I like it. So another thing that I really appreciate that I learned from you early on is, when I first met you, you're Joel Goldberg. You speak for the Royals. You do public speaking engagements. People know you very well, not only around Kansas City, but throughout Major League Baseball. And you still talk about the humble beginning. You still talk about not taking yourself too seriously. As a business owner, as a leader, you've got to project confidence and you've got to have command. But you also have I'm not going to take myself too seriously and, basically make a jackass out of myself by, I need you to believe and respect me. So how do you balance this confident persona that people see on camera with this humble person that remembers I've got to earn and build trust?
It's a good question. I mean, I think this is a fairly simple answer, at least out of the gate. Yeah, you got to be yourself. I mean, I know that sounds so simple, but I think whether, almost like trust too, I mean, whether it's short term or long term, people will figure you out. So in the short term, you might be able to fake your way through it a little bit. In the long term, maybe not. I'd look at it, say from an announcing standpoint, in my role. I have not just with the players, even more than the players with the fans. Look at when I got here, the only player that was on the roster last year that was here when I got here in 2008 was Zach Greinke, and he had been gone for a number of teams.
Right.
A lot of the guys that I've covered aren't just on other teams, or they're not. They're retired. And so those players are going to change every 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years in general in terms of baseball. The fans aren't changing. Maybe there's a younger generation. There's always younger coming in. And so, I think that if I'm myself every single night, that'll show over time. Now take an announcer, sideline reporter that is, say, traveling with ESPN, and they're doing one college football game a week. And they may not even have the same team twice in a year. They've got to figure out how to do all of that on the fly, and quickly. I think you still have to be yourself, but you may need to do a little something more to get a little bit of attention. I'm lucky enough that I can kind of work on that every single day and just be myself, and have faith that that's enough. And so, my personality enough too. I'm hopefully never going to take myself too seriously. I want to have fun. I'm going to make some stupid jokes every now and then, but I always want to, let's just say in terms of baseball, I want to respect the game and the players. And then if we can pull in some fun and show some personality along the way, that's great. It's the same thing for a business. I want people, when I'm speaking to them, to laugh. I'd like to see some tears every now and then and get those emotions. The emotions are good. People remember emotions. But at the end, I've got to respect what the goals were for that company and what were we here to do. And I don't want to walk out of there being like, what a clown, what a total joke. I want people to say, hey, he was funny, he was informative, I learned something from him, I was entertained. And so I think that's who I am. And so just staying true to that, I think, is probably what helps. So.
All right. Number 4. So we've gone past the tissues.
Okay.
This is big time.
It depends on if you're going left to right or right to left.
So I don't want to scare you, but this is going to scare you.
How have we gone from like medium, false sense of security to not hot, super hot?
Well,
this is probably where it ends.
Let me see.
Are we out of water?
No, we're not.
Hot?
No, we're not. We're right on line.
Tell me what's on that one.
So this is Bravado Spice Company Black Garlic Carolina Reaper. Super hot.
Let me just say something here. I'm not stalling really because it's going to happen, and I'm actually not feeling the effects of those. A little tingle from that last number 3 on the tongue, but there are words in here that are meant to scare you, like Reaper.
Yes.
Hey, enjoy the Reaper sauce. That's going to be a lot of fun. Not hot, super hot. Right. So we got 2 words to scare you. The next one has the word scorpion in it. Mm-hmm. Let's go.
They released a new pepper recently that is supposed to be hotter than the Carolina Reaper. So I have not yet tried that. Be careful with that. It's dangerous.
I went online like everybody does. Said, what's the secret? What should I drink, or how am I going to make this better? And said, drink milk, of course, which you guys have milk here. And it's not old milk. Sell by February 8th. We're in January. That's great. I've never drank a glass of milk in my life. So I might have to today. But I said, well, I don't like milk. Chocolate milk, that's not going to help. So it said coconut water can help cut it.
Yeah. Well, it's a good time to thank our friends at NavMD.
Companies are frustrated with the spicy costs for health benefits. Most C-suite executives believe that benefits costs are way too spicy and feel that the number 2 expense on their P&L is running hot. With NavMD, we help you win business, lower costs, and save time. Join us on our mission to revolutionize health benefits, one plan at a time.
They have good water too.
They do.
Okay.
They have good water. All right, here we go. Let's jump into number 4. See what happens.
This is the first time I'm actually just a little bit scared.
Okay, that's fair, and I appreciate you being vulnerable.
I'm a very vulnerable guy.
Again, you'll notice.
What's the highest you've made to?
I've been through 6.
Oh.
Yeah.
I could smell it. Initially, okay. It's coming. I can feel it coming, though.
Yeah. What do you think?
I could function.
Okay. Good. So, maybe you
I've left
surprised
some
yourself.
meat on the bone, but
That's okay. That's not the prerequisite. You gotta be doing this. So, while your
I'm okay, but
brain is trying to comprehend what you're doing to your body, let's talk about the Salvi splash.
Yes.
And really what has become very well known for the Royals. And you've become quite good at dodging these unless, sometime you want to be part of it. So
I don't ever want to be a part of it when they want me to be a part of it.
okay, good distinction.
I'm
Way to
joking.
clarify. So what's the secret to, avoiding professional athletes who are far more agile than either of us coming at you with water? How are you dodging it?
I could either be a total joke while I'm getting it, or I could have some fun while I'm getting it. So I'm going to do that. But if they're not trying to pin me down, and that only happens maybe, I don't know, once every 5-6 times, then I'm going to do my best to get out of the way. Now, Salvador Perez will absolutely, talk about building trust, will absolutely be mad at me. No, it won't ruin the trust long term. But if I play along the way he likes me to, it does help build trust with the fans too. They enjoy it. So he will get mad at me if I give it away. Don't move too early. I really don't care what he thinks if it's too cold out. I'm moving early if that's what it takes. But if the weather's good, then I'm more inclined to stay in longer. And the other thing is if it's a newer player, if it's their first time, they're not thinking about it. Even if they know it exists, everybody know it exists, they're not thinking about it because they have adrenaline. This is maybe their first post-game interview. What just happened? They were the star of the game. They're probably a rookie. The last thing on their minds is that splash coming. And so I want to hold it as long as I can, even if it means taking it with them to not ruin the surprise. There are other times where I'm just like, they're going to see my eyes moving. I don't care. I'm out. And I look really athletic sometimes when I'm doing that.
Yeah.
But anybody could look athletic for 3 steps.
I mean, that's all you need.
That's all you need.
Because it's on camera.
But when it's cold, that's the challenge. At some point, I'm going to pull a hamstring. The only injuries I've had is I've gotten hit in the head multiple times. I got bashed in the head by a camera. The camera, all the camera operators, the photographers, they're all lined up because they know that they've got this action shot that is coming. It's rare in sports to know this is the moment the action shot's coming. But we've sort of established, like, just give me a little bit of space to move, and I try to move in a way that's not going to mess up their pictures. And then I've had a couple buckets just hit me pretty good on the head. That's it.
Get any hazard pay?
Not yet.
No? Okay. So there's a secret to us keeping this ball rolling because I think there's an outside shot. We get a little bit of number 6. Maybe a little. You don't have to do the whole thing.
Okay.
But we'll see. So I think, if my math is correct, we've been through 4.
Yes.
So you looked at this, which probably wasn't very smart. But
Scorpion.
It's Scorpion. It is super hot, but we just had super hot, and it wasn't brutal, right?
It wasn't brutal. I feel my tongue's buzzing pretty good right now. A little bit in the gums, a little bit, but
this
is going to be rough.
A little bit. Just do a little bit. Just a little bit. Let's get this thing to 6. Let's try. Oh, don't do that. That's a rookie mistake.
Just trying to ease into it,
Well, you can tell it's a little thicker, so the vinegar that they use to dilute the other ones, which is a nice taste, I think, is not. This is thicker, hotter. We got to jump into box 2.
I could regularly do 1 through 3 in the house with no problem.
Yeah.
4 I could dabble in. I'm guessing 5 just would never happen.
Here's a pro tip: don't get it on your lips. Don't get you right at the beginning.
No, I don't even feel it yet, so it must be coming.
And you'll get a little bit of a feeling once you swallow that first bite. You'll feel it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Not brutal, but your forehead will start to sweat a little bit.
It's much later.
Yeah.
A good pro tip, by the way, too, is my lips are not numb.
So how do you show up, when you've got all these professional, things pulling you in different directions, but knowing you want to be very present as a father, as a husband, how do you do those things?
I think in past years it was just understanding that in season, off season. And so in season, get to anything I can on an off day. Don't schedule anything on an off day. Get to all those performances and games and all of that. And in the off season, go to everything. And that was, but now it's easier. And now I've got 2 kids in college. And so, I can do all my stuff every single day. And my wife just started a full-time job. And so we're both able to kind of go do our own thing. And then, when the summer hits, it's just easier once you have teenagers and college kids because they're going to come home and they don't want to come home and hang out with dad every single minute. So, but I think that when, for anyone that is in business or doing all the work-life balance, when you've got younger kids, it's prioritizing, those family things. I think a lot of people can do that, especially if those activities are on the weekend. That was my challenge, was that I don't have weekends off. And so it's just making sure that I'm going to get to that game in the morning on a Saturday morning. I'm gonna capitalize on every single moment that I can when the team is off, and understand that you don't have a whole lot of freedom to go do the fun trip or the this or that. I didn't travel as much in the off season. I didn't do the things that I'm doing now because that was my chance to be able to go to games and catch up with the kids.
Yeah, I was reading a stat the other day. So we've got a little man at home. He's 6 years old. I try to spend as much time as I possibly can with him,
which is great.
And I was reading something the other day where it was something where 60 to 80% of the time you get to spend with your children is done by the time they're like 12 or 14.
Yeah, I believe that.
And that really hit me. I try to.
They don't want to spend time with you once they're 14.
Right,
so, yeah.
Right. And it's also thinking about, you have a long day at work. You have, everything's going on. Priorities, some good, some draining. And your kid says, "Dad, I want to play with you," and you're tired. But then you go, they want to play with you, so get off your butt, go do it, and then you can complain about it after they go to bed, right?
Yep, that's right. And I think for me too, it was a lot of getting them to games. Maybe bringing them on a trip, letting them. Maybe we all would like or not to bring our kids to work. Well, they can come to a game anytime. Come hang out on our set. A couple little extra perks like that. So finding a way to at least bring everybody together that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're number 6, which you did not, you prefaced early on before we even got here. I'm not getting 6.
We're going to get 6.
We're to 6. Now, so you may not have thought about a charity. Do you have one off the top of your head, or is it something you want to think about?
I'll think about it.
Okay. So our friends at Grinders, they have a hot sauce called Death Nectar.
Yeah.
They really do a good job of calming the nerves.
Yeah, well, that's an award winner, so.
Yeah, let's make sure that we zoom in on his face when he was reading this, because I could see a little bit of fear there.
Yeah, there's crossbones and skull and and the word death.
Death. This is 337,000 Scoville.
I didn't want to know that.
Well, I need to build this up.
Yeah.
This is for the charity. So, again, we're not trying to harm anybody here. You're doing this of your own free will.
Yeah.
It's a verbal disclosure just in case. So again, recommend just a very little bit. You don't need to get crazy with it, because this is for professionals, Joel.
I'm not a professional.
You are now. The way you've taken down
5.
things. Well, you're at 6. There's no bailing out.
So I made it to 6.
You made it to 6. Now, again, since the heat is not your thing, don't lather it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Just give yourself enough to say, hey, hello. Remember, not on your lips. Dilute it, and then you can swallow. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh boy, there it is. That's the first one that did it. Woo. What's the last question?
You performed very, very well. Last question, a little bit of a lob, but at the same time, right now, your defenses aren't up.
No.
But typically people have, a silly ritual, something they do, whether it be something they like to do at home, a weird song that they listen to with friends, or something they do to get themselves hyped. So what's your silly ritual? Something that you don't necessarily want everyone to know, but now that your defenses are down, you're going to share.
Oh, sorry. Do you feel that at all?
A little bit. I mean, it's not like Tabasco, but it's also not going to knock me off my feet either.
This is going to be boring, and I'll try to come up with something. Woo. By the way, if I didn't feel that, I was just I could fake it and pretend just like this, but I'm feeling it. And why would you fake it? Like, wow. This is going to be boring, but I think maybe hopefully it's helpful in some way. I don't have a whole lot of a ritual in terms of like hyping myself up or anything like that, because to me, I do it every single day. And so I think, if occasionally I'll call Kansas City Mavericks hockey game, minor league hockey. I'll listen to some good kind of heavier metal, pump it up as I'm pulling in, because the energy level for a hockey game is off the charts, but I only do a handful of them. For me, I don't really need the nose is running now too. Nice. By the way, it's the first time on camera I've ever done this, so I feel, but.
First.
I mean, you can't, you just got to wait till you're off camera and then do one of those. For baseball, it's 162 games a year.
Right.
Let's say that we lose a few to a streaming or a national broadcast and we're doing 150 something. It's still over 300 shows a summer. If I need to pump me up for that, then, or some kind of ritual, I think more than anything, it's routine over ritual, if that makes sense. This is what I need to do to get ready. This is, and then for me, I guess it's not really ritual, is just talking to as many people as I can every single day. One of the fun things when we're on the road is we're not up on a set in left field. We're down by the visiting dugout unless it's raining, which means you do see some of the rituals of some of these players. This guy's going to touch the ground here and point to the sky. This guy's going to do this. This guy's going to do that. This guy comes out the same time every single day. Alex Gordon used to always walk in front of our camera every single time, believing that he was messing up our shot. First off, when you walk in front of a camera that close, you can't even see who it is, for one. Two, I felt like, I told him when he was closer to retirement, that every time he walked through was during a commercial break, so nobody ever saw it anyway, so that disappointed him. But I think for me, it's sort of fun seeing the rituals of these players that are the same thing every single day. For me, doing those shows is like just having a normal conversation with someone. So to me, there's no real reason to have that ritual. So that's a really boring answer, but I can tell you that that was an answer that I gave with my mouth on fire.
That's true. But I think there was some pretty good wisdom there of people who are getting ready to publicly speak or get ready for something that they're not prepared for. I think the note of wisdom was, you've done this before. You've spoken to other people. You've been in this situation. So lean into what you've done before, what you know, what you're comfortable with.
Make it normal.
Exactly.
And look, everybody's going to, in terms of public speaking, everybody's going to be different. I get on stage now. Maybe there might be a ping of nerve every now and then. But for the most part, I'm comfortable with it, having done it long enough. There's never any nerve in baseball. There might be one or two times a year, some kind of circumstance that triggers something, but I don't even think twice about it. But some people want a little bit of nerves. I hear some people say, well, if you're not nervous, then something's wrong with you. It's different for everybody. Right. Some people feed off those nerves. Some people are better when they're calm. I've watched fellow broadcasters that have been around as long as me, that may be more accomplished than me, that pace up and down and are rehearsing. That would drive me nuts and make me nervous. So to me, again, we're all wired differently. Do what makes you comfortable. I talked about making it easy on people.
Right.
Other people, make it easy on yourself. And so are you someone that needs every note in front of you? Then put it. If you're someone that doesn't need that, then don't. For me, if you were to say, go do a speech on whatever right now, I would trust that I could turn around and do that speech as long as they can handle, this attire or not a suit or whatever in a minute. Who's the audience? Okay, what do I know? And instead of memorizing, and some people may want to memorize, talk about what you know. You know, and that's what makes the baseball so easy. I'm around them every single day. I start to talk about Vinny Pasquantino. Well, I know his whole background.
Right.
So it's not like I have to do research on that. I might need to do research on him for the day. So I think the advice in terms of routine and all that is that when you're speaking, if you're speaking about something that you know, which in theory, that's what you should be speaking about, and you're passionate about, then if I were to say to you, hey, go sit down at a restaurant or a bar with a friend and talk about this, how would you talk about it? That's all it is.
Well, Joel Goldberg.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, sir.
Survived. A little bit of a runny nose. Mouth is a little on fire, but
I'm pretty impressed. I am. I thought you were going to stop at 3 the way you prepped me, so very good. But
I'm fairly impressed, too.
Again, Joel Goldberg, entrepreneur, public speaker, voice of the Royals. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in to Running Hot, the business and insurance podcast. We'll see you the next time when we do our 6. Take care.